Hey guys, welcome to the pod.
The Pea Pod. I'm Peas,
And I'm Ladle.
and we have a full ladle of peas for you.
So let's get to it. All right, guys, I just wanted to open today's episode in a word of thankfulness. We've just had such overwhelming support from people on campus, off campus, and just all around in the community. And we've been really, really grateful for this opportunity to be able to come in this room every week and be able to talk into a microphone and just have fun, and for you guys to enjoy it and really just be able to hear God's word from the point of view of two college sophomores and hear us goof around and do what we do and get to see these beautiful peas if you're watching on YouTube.
Yeah.
They are present today if you're listening. We are really just thankful for this opportunity, and we're not doing it for our own glory, but for the glory of God. And we hope that through this podcast, you're able to see God working through us. So that's all I wanted to say before we started out today.
Amen.
And now we'll get into your healthy heaping ladle of peas.
Back to your regular scheduled programming, I believe is what...
Yeah, this is...
I'm kidding. By the way, I actually wasn't going to point this... I wasn't going to point this out until right now, but
Okay.
This is the second time we've done this episode because we lost the first time.
The forever lost episode.
The lost episode. This will be our second time. So if we slip up or we seem a little more disorganized, it's because we're doing this for a second time and I can't remember.
If anything, that should make us more organized.
You're right. But it's still, I don't know. It's going to throw me off a little bit, I think, because I spent more time on the next episode than this one. So
Yeah.
anyway, so
Yeah, guys, we're doing this again because we want you to hear this beautiful content that we have prepared for you today.
yep.
That being said, let's get into Romans chapter 12, verse 14 through 21 for welcome to the word today.
Yeah.
If you'll open your scriptures with us, I will have Mr. Pease read.
Okay. Romans chapter 12, verses 14. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse them. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Weep with those who weep. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be haughty, but associate with the lowly. Never be wise in your own sight. Repay no one evil for evil, but give thought to do what is honorable in the sight of all. If possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. Beloved, never avenge yourselves, but leave it to the wrath of God. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. To the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. For by doing so, you will heap burning coals on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. I love Romans. I don't think this will be the last time that we are in Romans.
Definitely not.
For this, because
I've got some Romans saved up myself.
yes, Romans is just this perfect conglomeration and just perfectly written book of the gospel and preaching to another church.
It's like it's the word of the Lord.
It's like the word of God. Yep, that's exactly what it is. Okay, it's perfect, and it's just I love it. And so, I think the reason I really love Romans is because end of high school, I was in a guitar class, this online guitar class, and I was thinking, what can I do with my time? Because I can't play my guitar in class. I could have, but I just chose not to. And I was like, I know what I'll do. I'll watch like a sermon series, and I'll bring my Bible that I just got. I just got this brand new red letter Bible, which was really cool. And I was like, what can I do? And so I pulled up the Summit Church, which is J.D. Greer's church that he pastors.
He's a big J.D. Greer fan.
I love J.D. J.D. Greer, if you ever watch this, I love you. And you've played a big part in my spiritual journey, so thank you. Anyway, Romans, I watched his sermon series through all of Romans in 2019, and it really hit me, the differences between a Christian, because I always thought, okay, there's the crazy Christians, there's the Jesus people, and then there's the, well, you're a Christian. And that was the moment I get to chapter 3 in Romans where I'm like, oh, there's only one type of Christian. You're either for Jesus and you're living for him, or you're not, So that really hit me, and that was kind of what lit the fire underneath me to come here to Moody, and it's been a huge inspiration. So love Romans. Now, Chapter 12. We're just kind of going to pick through this a little bit. Bless those who persecute you, bless and do not curse them. So this is something that's really hard to grasp for us humans, because being a human, we have sin basically baked into our DNA from the fall. And so it is very counterintuitive to our human nature to want to bless those who persecute us. What's the word I used? Inert? Last time we did this, I tried to say the word
like
inert, which is not the right word.
Inept.
No, what's the word I said I was looking for?
I thought it was inept.
No, inept. It was
innate.
Innate. Yes, thank you. Innate was the word I was looking for. It's in us to want to just curse those who curse us.
In.
It's built in.
When
That's
somebody
what we want to do.
punches you want to punch back.
Exactly. And so I see this a lot in my PCM kids. I go to PCM, Practical Christian Ministry is what it's called. We do this at Moody. It's kind of like a forced volunteer, but it's teaching you how to do, volunteer and ministry. And so I go to a PCM at Reborn Church on the west side. See, I said south side last time. It's west side. And in Garfield Park. And there's just a lot of these kids who come from very broken homes. And so they have this idea that you punch me, I will punch you back. And they don't listen to anybody unless they've punched that other person. And so I really try to instill in them, hey, it's a lot cooler for you to not punch them back. And so that's what this is teaching you. You know,
what's even cooler than hitting them?
Not hitting them back. It's just, So, but yeah, so just remember that this is not an easy thing to do. The gospel's never easy. That's why it's the gospel.
Right.
And that's the reason we can't even repay evil for evil is because of the cross itself. And that's that the cross has the final word. Jesus died for our sins, but he died after living the life we were supposed to live.
Right.
And then died the death we were supposed to die because we didn't live the life we were supposed to live. And so he takes ultimate judgment. He has the ability to do that. So he's the only person who is able to judge. And so that's why we can't. Because of what he did on the cross, you have no room to speak any sort of hate into another person's life because you have been hateful yourself, right? So it's very hypocritical. Anyway, verse 15 through 16, rejoice with those who rejoice, weep with those who weep, live in harmony with one another. Do not be haughty, but associate with the lowly. Never be wise in your own sight. So this one's pretty self-explanatory, right? Rejoice with those who rejoice. And this can be taken in the church context and outside the church context. Yeah. I see it more in the church context because he's writing to a church in Rome.
I see it more outside of the church context. I worked at a summer camp for several years, and this is where I saw this verse specifically in action quite often. And being for 10 weeks, being with the same group of like 30 to 40 people, you get to know each other real good. And you don't really get to go out that much because your only day off is Saturday. And you just get to see those victories happen, and you get to rejoice with those people, and you get to see people struggle through, like, their family is going through sickness or somebody passing away, and, you know, they can't really leave camp unless it's like they're going to a funeral or something. And you get to sit there and you get to weep with them, and it's really practical. Like, if you haven't done camp ministry, boy, would I recommend it, because it will teach you so much about not just yourself, but about how to live in community with others in the most beautiful way. And it takes this verse and it puts so much more depth to it. And like, obviously it is very plainly put out, like, rejoice with those who rejoice, weep with those who weep. And it's like, okay, when this person's happy, I should be happy. And it's like, that's not what it's getting at. It's not like put on a face for the other person. That's not the point of this verse. The point is to say, when for example, in high school, my best friend got a role in a musical that I was gunning for. And her and we were very good friends. And the moment I found out that she got it and I didn't, I was like, wow, I could really pity myself right now. But I'm just so overjoyed that Lily got this part that I'm going to put that aside and I'm going to go rejoice with her. And that was before I was even really a Christian. And so seeing that and being able to identify with, I've rejoiced with those who have rejoiced, and, you know, finding out that I was having a great day, and my friend, their grandfather passed away. And being able to put aside me having a fantastic day and not saying, oh, this person is putting a damper on my day because their grandpa died.
Yeah.
And being able to say, like, okay, that happened, and I need to put aside my day right now so I can weep with them because this is really affecting them. And so this verse is, like, very meaningful to me because I've seen it so practically lived out in my work in ministry so far.
That's wonderful. That's really cool. I wish I had that kind of, the ability to do that. I don't do that as often as I should, and that's why I think this is such a good passage. It's very convicting. But yeah, so like I was saying, Rome, Paul writes this to the church in Rome, and the interesting thing is that in the Roman world, their society was really built on class, and it was built on status, right? And so Paul is saying that the gospel has no room for that kind of thing. So not being haughty and not being wise in your own sight, he's asking you to cling to humbleness, and to use that as a propitiation for the gospel. Because when people see that and they see you're exalted, you're rejoicing with me. I thought you would be like your friend. I thought you would be, disappointed in this, but it's quite the opposite. So, but Paul's wording here does not really invoke think the same thing among one another, but rather think the same thing toward one another. And I have a quote here from when we did the work in the library for this episode. This is a commentary by Douglas J. Moo is the guy's name, and I think I've used his commentary before, but it says, however, while Paul might emphasize the outward display of our thinking, it does not force us to adopt a meaning for the basic phrase that is different from its sense in its other occurrences in Paul. He is calling us to a common mindset. Such a common mindset does not mean that we must all think in just the same way or that we must think exactly the same thing about every issue, but that we should adopt an attitude toward everything that touches our lives that springs from the renewed mind of the new realm to which we belong by God's grace. Sorry, I don't know why that was so hard for me to read. So never be wise in your own sight. Pride is the biggest barrier to unity, is basically what that's saying. So remember that when you're either having a quarrel, an argument, or you're feeling like you should be above this person. Remember humbleness, and remember Christ on the cross, humbling himself for you, and doing that for the sake of your sins. Okay, so this last passage, 17 through 21 here, I'm not going to read it all. It's a longer passage, but it's just, repay no one evil for evil, and vengeance is mine. I will repay, says the Lord. This is such a good passage, very crucial. And like I said before, it's very hard for us to understand this and to incorporate this in our lives because it's really comforting to think about, but it's really hard for us to apply because think about all the different times you've been wronged. Somebody says a crude joke about you, or you get cheated out of a job, or, your best friend betrayed you, whatever the circumstance may be that you got hurt. Think about those, and then think about the times where you just want to get them back. You want to punish them for what they're doing. Now think about this verse of vengeance is mine. I will repay, says the Lord. That doesn't say vengeance is yours. It doesn't say that it's mine and I'm giving it to you. It says vengeance is mine. And so what this means basically is, and JD says this awesome. He says it in an awesome way. He says, no matter what happens when a person dies, every single wrong thing that they've ever done to another person is going to get paid by justly and perfectly. And that'll either be by them in hell, paying for their own sins in hell, or it'll be them giving it to Jesus on the cross and having it be paid that way. So no matter what happens, you will have justice in your life. And it's either going to be when they pay for it or when Jesus pays for it for them. And so you have to give them that opportunity. You can't, if you take that away from Jesus, you are doing his work for him, and you are not allowed to do that. You can't. So just it's just that's the fact, right? When you take it upon yourself to pay back what is evil in life, you steal that opportunity away from Jesus, and you do his work, and you end up sinning yourself because you are now judging, and you are now taking judgment in your own sight. And like we said before, that's not something that you can do because of your sin. Jesus is the only person, the only deity who can do that. And it's because he died and rose again that he ultimately has power over sin and over all judgment, because he lived the perfect life that you were called to live. But like I said, it's not easy. And that's why we need him. That's why we need his grace. That's why we need his patience every single day. So just remember that. But the last thing that I want to tackle here is this ending, the heaping the burning coals on the head. Like, what does that really mean? Because when you think about it, like, okay, we've been talking about mercy and humbleness. How does heaping burning coals fit into that? Well, the basis of it is it's kind of like a wake up call, right? So if somebody put burning coals on your head, you would be woken up, right? You would notice. So
I'd say so.
Yeah. So it's like when you do these things and people notice that you are humble and that you're showing the gospel, they're like, oh, there's something different about him. I'm sure you've heard that before. Oh, there's something different about you. That is what will wake them up to the gospel. That was what will wake them up. Even if they're a Christian and you're humbling yourselves between an argument and you're not being haughty, they will remember, oh, Christ. I remember Christ. Sorry, it just sounded like I took the name in vain. That was really bad. Oh, right. Jesus died for me. He's the ultimate person to be taking care of this. And then, so you heap those burning coals and it wakes them up. It's very much a redemptive and repentive way to do it. But yeah, and then the last thing I have to say here is the same commentary here. Sorry. This last commentary, or the same commentary as this last section here, says, evil can overcome us when we allow the pressure put on us by a hostile world to force us into attitudes and actions that are out of keeping with the transformed character of the new realm. Paul urges us to resist such temptation, but more than that, sounding a note typical both. But more than that, sounding a note typical both of this paragraph and of the teaching of Jesus that it reflects, he urges us to take a positive step as well, to work consistently as triumphing over the evil others do to us by doing good. By responding to evil with the good rather than with evil, we gain a victory over that evil. Not only have we not allowed it to corrupt our own moral integrity, but we have displayed the character of Christ before a watching and skeptical world. I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory, right? I mean, you are, you're showing people Christ when you act in that humble way, and so yeah, just a great passage. Do you have anything else to say?
My comment was about verse 17,
Okay.
Which you kind of glossed over.
Okay.
So repay no one with evil, but give thought to do what is honorable in the sight of all. And then it goes on, verse 18, if possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. In this use of the word all is interesting to me because I read verse 17 and I think, oh, give thought to do what is honorable in the sight of all. So does that mean evildoers as well? Does that mean just Christians? Should I only be seeking what is honorable to God? But this says to all, so what does that mean? And I don't think Paul is trying to get the Romans to overthink here.
Yeah.
And I think, in my mind, I'm like, what does this mean? What do you mean at all?
What does this mean?
What do you mean at all?
Yeah.
I think what Paul is trying to get at, and I could be very wrong, and if I am, correct me, please, in the comments. Or on Instagram or something. But what I think he's trying to get at is to take into consideration what is honoring to those around you. And how you treat others should be in an honorable fashion. And it doesn't always mean oh, this person is gay, so I have to be an ally in order to be honorable to them. That's not what I think he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
I think what he is getting at is that you need to take into consideration what is honorable to others, which is also honorable to God.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's honorable needs to first be honorable to God, and secondly be honorable to people, because God ultimately comes first in all of these things.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So I think that I kind of reflected on over the past week.
You're spot on. I'm glad that you got more time to think about that. You know, having the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
Which no one's at fault for, of course. I'm
That
serious.
sounded
No,
so
I'm not throwing
sarcastic.
shade on you, Lisa. I promise. I'm serious.
Wow, you just name dropped her too. You said, and it was Lisa.
No.
Oh my
No.
gosh.
I'm.
Yeah, hit that button.
It stinks, but it's okay
Yeah.
because clearly God wanted us to say something else, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, overview. Bless those who persecute you. You know, be humble and be able to approach not just like strife, not just arguments, but just everyone that you see.
Mm-hmm.
And don't take vengeance. Let God do that.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's his.
I can't stress enough though. It's not easy, and I'm not trying to say that we're good at it. That's why we do these. It's a message that we're preaching to ourselves, and so we're trying to teach it to you guys, or at least show you our perspectives on it. And yeah, so I hope you are encouraged by that. And yeah, there you go. There's the word. Unless you got anything else. Okay.
This is the word of the Lord.
Praise be to God. All right. So next segment. Side note. This is, we're going to talk about some music stuff. We're going to talk some music that we like, song of the week for each of us, and then something usually musical related. And this week it's going to be talking about new music in the church, which is something that we had a lot of fun with the last time we did this. So
Hopefully we have just as much fun this time.
hopefully we do. Okay, so my song this time is called I Don't Want to Live Like This. It's by, I'm looking up the lyrics. It's by Gable Price and Friends. Now, the biggest thing I can say about this is that Gable Price and Friends is something that a lot of people played on our floor freshman year, and it really just, I don't know, it stuck with me nostalgia-wise. So even when there are songs I've never heard from them, I just kind of get this nostalgia rush, like, oh, man, that sound of their voices, it's reminding me of freshman year, and they're very, like, punky Christian band. That's maybe not punky is not right the word, but like just very, I don't know. You just have to go listen to it and find out. I put it on the playlist, the side note playlist. But let me see. So like, yeah. So like the chorus says, "I don't want to live like this. I don't want to live like this. I don't want to end up bitter either way. So I'll take my Kool-Aid microwaved. I don't want to." And then it's just very poetic. It's very like fly high, sweet fascination, swing by, but never stay. Most of us wouldn't be here if you move the stage, which is just so, I love it. So yeah, that's my song. It's very upbeat, like party, but still have just very deep lyrics. I love it. They can get really incredibly deep. Yeah.
I listened to it. It's good.
It's a good song.
It's a little funky.
Yeah, and the rest of their music is awesome too. So if you like it, go listen to the rest of their music. I recommend it.
Yeah. My song of the week, if you're...
Yes.
Okay.
Please.
My song of the week is called Thank You, Jesus, for the Blood. I think is the one that I'm on this time.
I think so.
I'm like almost certain. Yes, that is the one that I wrote down. I'm double checking my notes because I took notes. Okay. And I love this song, especially the first time. Okay, rewind.
We need one of those. One of those sound bites.
The first time that I heard this song was in church back home, and we sang it for communion as a new song. And one of our teaching pastors, oh my goodness, my thoughts just left my brain. Hold on.
Is it not the one that you like a lot?
It is the one that I like a lot. Oh, he was a former police officer.
Oh, okay.
And he recommended the song, and he's like, I just really think this is a good song. And I was like, what the heck? What? Pastor Westra recommended a song? I was like, I didn't think he was a very musical guy. And then they played the song, and it's an absolute banger.
It is pretty awesome.
And I just enjoy the lyrics and how they portray our how we should be in thankfulness to Christ and to Jesus for what he did for us. And we sang it during communion, like I said, and I think it's a fantastic song.
That's a great
communion.
song for that.
One thing about the song is that there's this ending verse, and it's a more like almost hymn style, and it's a complete change to the rest of the pace of the song. But I love it, and it's my favorite part of the song. And it's so easy to like do harmonies with it and really do some cool stuff musically with it. And people leave it off all the time. It's gone. It disappeared. It doesn't exist anymore. And it makes me so sad. Oh,
come on.
No. What?
Thank you. They leave it off. It stinks.
Yeah. But my church leaves it on.
Woo!
So, yay. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. You got this. Keep going.
Brennan. Calm down with the sound bites.
I'm not even doing it.
No, but you're the one that's like, go.
Just continue.
I will. And it's a good vocal range. I feel like it's not too much, especially if you do it in a good congregational key. Aha! See our previous episode for congregational keys if you haven't gone and listened to that one. And it's one of my favorites to sing in church. I just really enjoy it. I don't like leading it. I'll say that.
Oh, okay.
I enjoy singing it as a part of the congregation. Mostly because I think there's much better equipped people to lead that song than I. And it's great for communion. So go listen to it. See how awesome it is. Listen to the final verse of the song, the outro. It's fire. That's
fire, bro. For real. No cap. Okay. LOL. Okay.
Make fun of me.
So, new music. What do we mean by that? Well, during Founders Week, a couple of weeks ago, we had a lot of artists kind of bring their, I can't remember if it was like new music, like new artists are bringing their new music, or it's just new music that we have never heard before, but they would perform the music. And so
I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. All the music for Founders Week was amazing. It's just,
but a lot of people didn't know it. I was able to anticipate the musical phrases, so it was easier for me.
Right.
But a lot of people can't do that.
Right. So like my initial thoughts, and I think you're with me on this here. The initial thoughts to like the new music in church is it's kind of hard to sing if you don't know it. And like if I don't know the song, it kind of breaks me out of my groove. Like if I'm really in just this worshipful space, I'm really loving it, and Cornerstone and, you know, King of Kings, like those songs that really I know the lyrics to really well. It kind of breaks me out of it because I'm like, oh, okay, I got to look at the screen because I like to close my eyes when I worship or whatever. But then it's also like, it's not impossible to anticipate. Like you were saying, like it's not impossible to kind of have and anticipate the melody if it's intuitive. Like you can just kind of sing along with it if it's an intuitive melody. Sure. But I don't think it's inherently bad to have new music in church, to introduce new music to your congregation, at least new music that they've never sang before. But now this is where I think the discussion can begin, and that is where it can go wrong. And where it can go wrong is if you're doing it a lot. I don't think you should really overdo it, because in my opinion, the only way you can successfully introduce a song into a congregation that they've never sang before is really just one at a time. Now, you talked about last time we did this episode, you talked about how your worship pastor does that thing, and I really liked it. So you talk about that.
My worship pastor back home, he will be singing and will be kind of mid-set. It's not the end of the set. We don't end with the new song. It'll be like the middle of the three that we do. And he'll say, okay, church, are you ready to learn a new song this morning? And based on the response that he gets from the congregation, if we're like, woo, yeah, then he'll be like, great, I'm going to teach you the chorus first, and then we'll go back and sing the rest of the song so you guys know at least part of it. And if everyone's kind of like, we're already in our worship mode, we don't really want to learn something new, and he's kind of getting that feedback from everybody, he will hold off. Or at least that's what he's done that once in the past that I've picked up on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a really cool way to do it.
I love everything about that because, like, even just that's a structure, like not having it at the end of a set, like that's a good way to do it because you want to finish strong. You want to finish really pushing it into the message. And so I feel like if you end on a newer song, it kind of feels less energetic. So I really like that. I really like, now the asking part is pretty unique. I don't even, that's awesome, and I like that. But even just the being able to teach the chorus first and then go with the verse, like Shane does that all the time. Like when they do their, when they came out with their Psalms and their hymns album, I know that a lot of the live versions, Shane B will sing the chorus first and say, okay, I'm going to teach you the chorus, and then you go. And that's part of even like, this just kind of molds into like part of what we were talking about, congregational keys. And that is worship, like leading is about pastoring your church, your congregation. And so when you are focused on them and like, okay, I'm going to teach you this chorus so that you have something to sing. I'm going to sing it once for you so you guys kind of know the melody a little bit so that when the chorus comes around, you can sing it and you don't feel lost the whole time. Now, eventually they will pick up on the chorus, but like when you teach it to them first, that is just another great way where you are kind of putting them first. You're trying to teach them something one at a time, slow. But you also have to just keep in mind like your congregation in general. Like think about your age range, your technability. That's not a word. I just came up with all kinds of words. Technability. Your technical capabilities.
There you go.
In your church, like, yeah, thank you. New words. Technability.
Inert
and technability. Think about that because if you're trying to sing a lot of new songs, a lot of new music for an older congregation, they're going to want to sing stuff from their generation.
Yes.
And that's what's going to touch them the most. But the point is, new music is not bad, but the way you want to do it is very just slowly. And even if you want to, like, let's say you enter a church that you're going to worship pastor in and you feel like the sets aren't hitting, like their music is not really working out that they play at their church, start introducing new music one at a time. And really just kind of get them, because you have a lot of control, like you have a lot of, I don't want to say power, but you have a lot of influence on your flock of congregation as you worship. And so using that wisely and for the glory of God, you can effectively lead them. And I think that's important. So if you want to introduce new music, go right ahead. But just do it, in a manner that's like focusing on the congregation first.
It needs to be easy to pick up.
Yeah.
So if they can't get the chorus, it's probably not the best song.
Right, because you can try a song and maybe it doesn't work out really well, and you don't have to do it again. Yeah. And then the other thing you mentioned, I'm remembering now. The other thing is talk to your congregation about it. Like go out in the lobby after service and say, so what'd you think of like the worship? Like not like how'd you think I played? It's more of like did you feel like that was a good song?
That was a good song for
our congregation. And we also talked about last time like vetting songs, like what that process is like, like putting it through the board of elders and through the pastor, how that you can talk about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go take a few steps back here.
Okay,
so
go ahead. Go ahead.
When you're first introducing a song to the church, you can't be really fancy about it. So, adding riffs and like ad-libbing and all of that kind of stuff is for later. Not when you're trying to get your congregation to learn.
Ooh, because that's good too. I didn't think about that.
If you're trying to teach a song and then you're like, ooh,
and they're all like, because they don't know where the bass is. They don't know where the solid part is.
They don't know where the melody line is, and they don't know where the bass line is. Right. Therefore, they cannot sing it. So it is really hard because sometimes you have singers that's like their thing. And they'll do all the fancy riffs and all the fancy things. And I think you need to take into account who you're putting on your worship set that morning.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're building a worship set, it's not just building the set, it's building the team to match the set as well. And who plays well together, whose voices mesh well together. Things like that are really important to take into consideration when you're putting together a new song set as well. And then it's going before the board of elders. So when somebody is taking, a lot of people think the worship pastor really is like, doesn't do a whole lot.
Just does what he wants.
Just shows up and plays
music.
the guitar and, looks cool. And usually has like a man bun or something. And like
Brandon Lake.
Yeah. But it's a lot more than that. So one thing that people don't get to see that's kind of behind the scenes is that you have to take your song before the board of elders and your senior pastors and things like that and say, okay, here's the song that I want to bring to the congregation. And they'll say, okay, why? And you have to have like a whole presentation on these are the lyrics. I've analyzed it clearly. This is what I've talked to this person about. This is what other people have written about. It's sang in this church. It's sang in this church. Here's the credibility. Here's this, this, and this. And they have to, have a meeting and say approved or not. And I got to talk to my worship pastor back home about this once because I'm like, why don't we sing this song anymore? And he's like, well, we got it approved a while ago, and then there was some controversy about it in some other churches, and so they brought it back up, and they disapproved it after that. And so your new music can be approved initially, and years later be brought back and say no.
Because what if, now there's this whole thing, like what if the artist comes out and says, oh yeah, you know that thing that you think is actually theologically cool? I actually wrote that to mean this, and it's terrible.
Yeah.
Like, then you got to think about, okay, your congregants are going to see that on the social media, on the internet, and then you're going to sing. Even if you don't think that's what it is, they're going to see that they actually meant this crazy weird thing, and then they're going to be like, why are we singing this song? We know what this means. Even if it's not what you intended to mean, that kind of stuff is important.
Well, and it's like,
it's
these lyrics. Lyrics can be great. And then you find out, oh, this person was a Mormon. And it is not okay to sing in our church because we are not Mormon.
Yeah, exactly.
Whoa. And so you need to do research beyond just the lyrics as well. And so know the songwriters, did they come up with the song themselves? Is it something that was written by somebody else and they bought and sang? And because that happens too.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of factors to take into account and a lot of research that goes into it. So when your church is introducing a new song, know that there's been so much
it's a process.
Time and thought and prayer and discernment put into, is this a good fit for our church? One, is this a good song? Is this credible? It's like having to do a 10-page paper every time you want to do a new song. And so that's also why it's so hard to even introduce more than one song at a time. And if churches do introduce like 2 or 3 songs at a time, it kind of, I don't know, shoots up a red flag in my mind. Like, have they gone through this process?
Right.
Does their church do this? Is this what's happening? And like, ultimately, I don't know. And I probably won't unless I go up and ask, did you take this before your board of elders?
Right.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm not going to be that person. So, because that's hypercritical and does not need to be done.
Yep.
So, but yeah, if you have your local worship pastor around, talk to him about this stuff. Be like, hey, who wrote this song?
I was listening to Ladle, and they told me that you need to make sure that you got all this stuff figured out first.
Well, that's not what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying.
That you can say, hey, I listened to this podcast, and they said some really cool stuff about what you do and what your actual job is and how much work you put in. I just want to say thank you. And I think you're doing, take that as a time to say, wow, these people do a lot. Because they do. And
preach it, sister.
Take that time to say, you know what? This is really good worship sometimes. And sometimes it's the fact that my heart's not in the worship. That's why it's not good. And so I can't discount all the work that they've put in because I don't feel like it that morning.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
That's where I lie on that topic.
Why don't you just tell the truth? But, yeah.
Yeah.
That went over her head.
Yep.
So, I think, have we covered it? You want to move on? Is that good?
Do you have others?
I have nothing left to say. I think you said it.
Okay.
Speak on that, as Olivia would say. See, Olivia, if you're watching this, I'm using your lingo.
All right. Well, that puts us on to projectile commenting. And
No, it puts us on to...
Huh? Oh my gosh. You had me so scared for a minute. I was like, am I wrong again?
No, it's projectile
flashbacks
commenting.
to
It's
episode 1.
Yes, projectile commenting. And today we are talking about Michigan winters.
Michigan.
We need a laugh track. That's the other thing we need.
Nah, ha, 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 ha.
Nah, we'll record us just laughing.
No.
Really dryly.
Please. Ha,
Ha 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 ha. And then play that. Oh, that'd be so funny.
No, it wouldn't.
Okay, so Michigan winters. This is I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan. And
I'm from Allegan, Michigan.
so we've got some winters are
If you're not from Michigan,
winters are
you're about to learn.
they're
Yeah. If you're not from Michigan, be from Michigan.
yes.
Try again. Do better.
Yeah. So
I'm just
we have this
We love-
is going to be fun because we have very
non-Michigan.
opposing views on
I said, I'm just kidding. We love our non-Michigan.
Oh. We do love our non-Michigan people.
Okay.
We have opposing views on this as far as Michigan winters go. So I'm going to let her go first because she went first last time. So no, actually, yes. Go first.
Okay.
Michigan winters.
Here's what I think. Snow should not exist. I hate snow. I despise the car crashes that happen because get your hand out of my frame. And here's the thing. Here's why I don't like it. I like playing in the snow when I don't get cold, which is really hard because it's cold.
Snow is cold.
Snow is cold. I like sledding. I don't like skiing and snowboarding. I don't like snowshoeing, whatever the heck. I've done a lot of winter sport type things, and I don't enjoy very many of them.
Darn.
It pushes me to be inside often, and it makes me sad. And it makes winter worse for me. It really does. And snow causes car accidents. Here is my case in point. Mr. P's here.
No.
I'm just kidding,
No,
I'm just
no, you tell your own story.
I'm not gonna bring it up.
You like tell your own story, okay? Golly, that's one thing. I said something about that in the last time we tried to record this.
no.
Don't bring up the tractor thing, my family. Please, Melena or Lana.
Whoa. What just happened?
Or not pause?
What just happened?
Okay. Cut that, and then we'll start again. Ready?
What's happening?
Are we sure?
What's happening?
It's okay. It's okay. It's still recording, no matter what.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Okay.
Micah, if you hear this, just cut that part. Okay?
Yes. You look up like he's God. Micah, cut that, please.
Please.
Oh, man. I hope we get a gag reel someday. We need to have more of these moments. Okay, I'm ready. What were we saying? Okay, ready? Ready? And go. And we're back. What?
That was so in sync.
What do you mean?
My
We
effort.
clapped.
No, it was like. No, I can't do it again.
Okay, whatever.
Okay.
We had
Anyway.
technical issues with...
Technical
Lights and
difficulties.
stuff.
Sorry, we're back now.
Also,
Um,
that ring light's off, Lisa.
Yeah, that's okay.
Anyway,
It's
so-
fine. We're okay.
Yeah, that's weird.
That's weird.
So tell your
That's
own...
suspicious.
Tell
I'm
your
kidding.
own story.
But snow causes so many accidents, and it causes so much anxiety for drivers. I mean, I know my family, like, it's caused immense anxiety when learning how to drive.
Okay, that's fair.
My first winter in Michigan was so stressful because I didn't know what I was doing because I learned to drive in the summer.
Okay, that's
And
fair.
So I was slipping and sliding, and I didn't know what to do. And I was trying to remember all the stuff from driver's ed that was like, don't press the gas, but press the brake. Drive to the right when your tire goes left.
Overcorrect and
"Ah!"
yeah, yeah.
And I was trying to remember all this stuff.
Good point.
And then you have whiteouts. Whiteouts are when you get so much snow you can't see like 2 feet in front
It's
of you.
white.
It's whiteout.
Come on. Yes, thank you.
That's so good. So, and whiteouts are fun to look at from the inside, but I don't want to be in one. No, thank you. No, thank you. And the other thing is that deer. Okay, the Michigan state animal is the
White-tailed deer.
And the thing about the white-tailed deer is when snow hits the ground, they become invisible.
Their tails become invisible. I mean,
No.
the whole animal. Okay, if their butt towards you,
The snow gets on them, and they become invisible, and you can't see them coming. And then they come out of nowhere, and they wreck your car, and they wreck your life. For real. Deer are horrible. Also, the only time I've ever hit a deer is in broad daylight in the middle of the summer. So I have no experience with hitting deer in the winter. But, shake your head at me. They become invisible. And it's really scary because when you're driving in the winter, you're like, is there a deer lurking around the corner? They're coming to get me. I also have an immense fear of deer. That's a long story, though.
Ooh, we should talk about fears someday. Deer.
And then here's the other thing. Mild winters also suck because when it's not like whiteout conditions all the time and you have a really, really mild winter, then it's all sloshy outside or it's slick as crap because you have black ice everywhere. Black ice sucks because you can't even see it. It's invisible like the deer, for real.
Yeah.
And you walk down the road and you're on your butt because you can't see this ice. It's under your feet. I was walking into snow coming. Was it freshman year?
Oh, the dance?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's our homecoming, but in the winter, it's called snow coming in Allegan. Okay? Just bear with me. And I was walking, and my date was walking ahead of me because he was not a gentleman and didn't walk me in. And
What a loser.
I slipped and fell in my dress, and I looked like an idiot. And it hurts.
Yikes.
And I had a bruise. It was terrible. And snowboarding is hard, skiing is hard, but the Grand Rapids ice sculptures are cool. They have ice sculptures downtown at one point, but then there's Rosa Parks Circle.
Ice skating,
Ice skating. And I've never been ice skating because every time I go to Rosa Parks Circle, it's like either under construction. It was under construction all of last winter. What the heck is with that? How are you going to be under construction in the middle of winter when it's the only time it's used? How does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a good point. But they use it. Don't they use it for something else in the summertime? Isn't it like a roller rink or something?
Not
I'm
as
sure.
important. I don't know.
I guess you're right.
Anyway, that's
Okay. So here's the real truth, right? So Michigan winters are really cool, and that's because they're Michigan, right? Because like you have Florida, and you have all these states that don't get snow. Michigan. Like, so I grew up I didn't grow up. I was adopted from St. Petersburg, Russia. So oh my gosh, stop. And so I feel like it's baked into my DNA that I love cold. I love the snow.
Clearly.
And so growing up in GR, though, in Grand Rapids, it was like, I love it. It's just, the snow is pretty. It's silent when it falls. Like when it rains, it can be loud.
I like the rain.
Hail. Like, yeah, I'm glad you like the rain, but snow is silent. It's peaceful.
Rain is warm.
Even during like a snowstorm, if the wind isn't crazy, it's still so quiet, and it's really cool to stand there. And snow takes up a lot of sound. So like I remember like you could stand at the end of my driveway and then go, down the road where you could still see the person pretty well. And if it was snowing hard enough and you tried to say something, they couldn't hear you. Sound would just get absorbed up in the snow, which is crazy. But even in the 80s, though, it's so much different than it was back then. Like, my dad would be able to step off the roof of his house onto a snow pile and walk down, right? That's how high it was, and people get snowed in. And, like, snow days, like, you wouldn't have a snow day. Snow days are awesome. I know that Michigan's not the only place to have snow days, but...
They don't really have snow days anymore because of online learning.
No. They told us during the COVID era that we would still have Forest Hills Public Schools would still have snow days. So maybe there's some schools out there who are like, oh, that's dumb. There's online learning.
Mine.
That's really unfortunate. But think about the
Not that Allegan had snow days anyway.
think about the polar vortex though, like the polar vortex in 2017, 2018 or something like that was really cool. This that crazy snowstorm. We had no school for a week.
Were you in middle school?
Oh, I don't know. I
was
think
in
I
middle
was
school.
in late middle. I think I was like 8th
You must
grade.
have been in 8th grade because I was definitely in high school.
She's the one older than me by a year, but whatever. But yeah, so it's not really quite that bad as it was. It's not as bad as it was in the past, but it can be nasty, it can be scary. But like driving through it is still a lot of fun. Like you got a 4-wheel drive truck or a Jeep, like I do. It's just it's the closest thing I get to off-roading in Michigan, you know.
You just gotta get out of Grand Rapids.
No, but I
go
do get out of
off-roading
Grand
all the
Rapids.
time.
Well, yeah, like you can go off-roading in Drummond Island, you know, best place on earth, but like it's just driving through the snow, crawling through it, like it just feels cool. Fishtailing, drifting, all that is just so much fun for me.
I don't think fishtailing is fun.
I think it's fun.
Sorry about that later.
Well, okay. You could tell it if you want, but or is that the story?
That's my story for today.
You're right.
Golly.
So, yeah, and I've just always loved cold. I hate being hot.
I technically have 2 snow stories, so I could tell that one now and tell the other one later.
Or you could hold it, but
Oh.
I mean, it is the next part, so we could just seamlessly transition into going alone, but yeah, so my verdict is Michigan winters are cool. They can be scary, and my mom hates snow. My mom always wants to be somewhere else. Florida, Hawaii, whatever it is.
Amen.
Shout out, Mom, but you need to...
Hi, Angela. I hope I can call her that. This is Phoebus. I'm sorry.
No, you can call her Angela if you want. It's just that she does not like snow or cold, and it just gets... I don't think she just puts her in a bad mood. Not quite,
Yeah,
not like
puts me in a
seasonal
bad mood.
depression. Not necessarily like seasonal depression, but it just
makes
sucks.
This is how it makes me feel, this face right here. And the other thing is that my school really didn't believe in snow days. I swear to you.
Well, remember, you live 10 minutes away from, not even 10 minutes away from school, and you...
During high school, during
Oh, middle school is different?
middle and elementary school, I lived... Well, here's the thing. Well, some of the time, I lived like 5 minutes away from school. The other time, I lived like 15 to 20 minutes away from school, depending on the day. And it only actually took me 5 minutes because I sped.
Right.
But that's a story for another time. And so there was like one day where we definitely should have had a snow day. Just 110%. Everybody else had a snow day. Everybody around us. Literally every school. Otsego, Plainwell, like Pawpaw, Gobles. Everybody had a snow day.
Such
okay?
funny names.
You live in Michigan too.
I know, but just I don't live in that area where all those... I'm not used to those cities as much as you are. I'm used to Kalamazoo and Big Rapids and Hayworth. Or not Hayworth.
My grandparents live in Big Rapids.
Holland.
And my uncle lives in Kalamazoo. Kalamazoo was closed too. So everybody that had school closed except for us. Oh, sorry. I can't be banging on the table. I was told not to do that today. Sorry. Sorry, Lisa. And anyway.
Everybody had school closed.
Everybody had school closed. We did not. It took me 2.5 hours to get to school that day. From my 5-minute drive normally. 2.5 hours!
It is a long time. I will admit that.
Insane. I got to school and my first period teacher was like, you should plan ahead. And I was like...
Your first period teacher? You were 2.5 hours later.
They just delayed everything because literally, like,
because nobody showed up.
Like, all the buses ended up in ditches and like it was so bad.
They just delayed it. They didn't cancel it after that.
No,
bro, that is whack.
It is.
That's crazy.
We all went up to the principal's daughter and we were like, "What the heck, bro?" Or not the principal, the superintendent's daughter was in our school with us, and we were like, "Bro, you gotta hello? Why are we in school right now?"
Dan Beam is my superintendent.
And James Antoine was my superintendent.
He was a meme.
Ours was. Still is. But, and there is a meme specifically about that day in particular
Really?
that his daughter made and posted. And it's like, there's this, like, picture of, like, all these people taking a slice out of a cake, and then, like, there's one guy without a knife. And it's, like, everybody taking a snow day. And so they all have their knives in the cake.
Yeah.
And it's, like,
Elegant.
Mr. Antoine. And it's, like, he has no
No
knife.
knife.
He's just smiling, looking at the cake. It's, like, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how it felt every time. Everybody else would have snow days. I'd wake up in the morning and be like, please, 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 please. I do all the superstitions. Did you do the superstitions?
Like the ice cube down the toilet and the spoon
Yeah.
out the window or whatever, or under a pillow, or
spoon under your pillow. You wear your pajamas inside out.
yeah. No, I just knew I had that snow day calculator,
Yeah, I
and
did that too.
and then I would always just like. I had a lot of teachers who
pulled
were
that up
like
every
really
day.
good at like, okay, there's going to be a snow day, or I just watch the weather like. There's gonna be a snow all a bunch at once at 2 a.m. It'll be a snow day. Like
I
it's just
wouldn't. I had my snow calculator, my superstitions.
no. I do that, but like I was more worried about like, could they shovel that off enough? It's all about whether or not the roads could be cleared.
Oh, they didn't care if the roads were clear or not.
So
For real.
interesting.
The only time, because Mr. Antoine would go out for a run at 5 a.m. And if he could go for his run successfully, we would have school.
Well,
Isn't that the dumbest thing you ever heard?
well, I mean,
I can run in the snow and not drive through it.
well,
Be for real, dog. Be for real.
I think we've killed this subject. I'm ready for the next one.
What?
Unless you have anything more to say.
Not particularly.
Oops.
But Michigan winters are not as fun as
Michigan winters are fun.
No. Okay. Moving on.
Moving on.
This is you.
This is going alone. Why do I have to start?
No, you're the one introducing it.
You're right.
That's what I was saying. He has an
So
introduction. B.
this is going alone. This is where we just she'll tell a story,
Mm-hmm.
and then I will talk about a car part, and that's it. So
Yeah. Okay. I have a few different stories in mind.
okay, you tell whichever one you want.
Wait. Last week's story
Was
was about the rooster and the coyotes. Was it?
yeah, I
Was-
think
is that the
so.
one?
Being surrounded by the coyotes, yeah.
Yeah. So I was not alone, first of all. So that part was not true. I think I said that I was by myself in the woods.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you
We
had a
did-
chicken in
we
your hand.
We did lose a rooster. that
Or a
night.
rooster.
And my stepmom went out with me to go find it, and we did not find it. We heard the coyotes, and they were close, but not like to the point where you could see them. And so we
Okay.
just went back to the house, and then Speckles turned up the next morning, alive.
Bro just
So
clucked his way onto the driveway.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys.
he literally like showed up at the front door. I'm not kidding.
Knock,
we
knock,
were,
knock.
And we were like, Speckles? And then my stepmom celebrated, and I was like,
By eating him?
no.
Oh.
We didn't eat our roosters. They weren't meat roosters. Though I'm sure they could have been, because they were menaces, and I hate roosters, and I don't want them anymore. I like hens. That's it. Okay. My story for this week. Oh, wait. So that makes that not true. Not true. But we did have a rooster get loose, so I'm just not a superhero out of an action movie. So.
Well.
My story for this week, I'll go with, my friend Colton from high school. Colton, if you're listening to this, I really hope you are, because I'm sure he'd get a kick out of some of this. But Colton and I were like best of friends, and there was one day he was at my house, in the winter time, and we were there. I don't know what for. I think we were just hanging out, playing card games, and my sister was there with us, and we were all just hanging out, doing fun things. I don't really remember much about before this event happened. And so we went down the road, and so my driveway at my dad's old house, was my childhood home, was really, really long, and it was like our driveway was huge. And so we had this huge pad of concrete that connected like our pole barn and our house, and so it was really big. And then it was a dirt driveway down about, I don't know, less than a quarter of a mile. and then you would do like a really sharp 90-degree turn and then go down like 3 hills. And then you get to the road. And that was like a half mile long, probably. And so we were heading down the driveway, and this was my first winter driving. And he would always be like, "Oh, you're such a bad driver," even though we both knew I was a pretty good driver. And so we talk about like how it was my first like winter driving, blah blah blah. We're chatting about that. We're chatting about like the games we just played, and we're on our way. I think we were on our way to robotics practice. And so we go down the first little incline, and we're about to go around that 90-degree turn, and there's a spring that comes through the bottom of that road, which they have redirected now that we don't live there. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
But it iced over, and I did not anticipate there being that much ice at the bottom of the road. And so I go to turn, and I'm cruising. I'm going to cruising 30 miles an hour because that's normally how fast I go down that road.
Yeah.
And it was the first snow of the season, had just iced over. And so I'm whipping down this road. I whip that turn, and then like my back end just goes whoosh, all the way to the other end. And down the 2 hills, there's like sheer drop-offs on either side. And well, not like super
But
huge,
enough
it's
that it would
ditch.
be
It's a ditch.
damaging
Yes.
to you.
And so, and there's trees lining all of it. So I was like freaking out internally. I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to die. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't remember anything from driver's ed right now. So I start cranking the wheel the other way, overcorrecting. Whoosh, the other side. We're like half an inch away from the trench. And I'm like freaking out. And Colton, it's like he's got the oh crap handle up top. You know what I'm talking
The
about?
oh crap handle? Wow.
That's what we call it. Got the oh crap handle, and then he's got his hand on the side of his seat, and he's like holding on for dear life, this poor kid. And I'm like, I'm freaking out internally, but my face was just so relaxed. I was just like, yep. And I'm turning, and I'm turning, and I'm turning, and we're fishtailing on this.
Like the Polar Express train down the ice thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Left, right,
Right,
left, right, left.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly like
Okay.
that. And so eventually we stop fishtailing once we get to like the plateau at the bottom of the first hill. And I know there's like 2 more hills ahead of us. And I'm like, I just stopped for a minute in front of my neighbor's house, and I was like, that just happened. And I looked over, and he was like, have you done that before? And I was like, no. And he's like, could have fooled me. You
Yeah.
looked so calm. And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, it's whatever. I just did that. And then we get down the second hill, nothing happens. We get to the third hill right before the road. And my dad had snowblowed the road all the way up until this point because he didn't have enough time before he had to go into work. And we get to that point in the road, and I didn't realize just how much it had snowed. And it was over the hood of my car. Like, we were going down this final hill, and there's a little bit of a curve on it to get to the road.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't see anything.
It was a whiteout.
Because I drove into a pile of snow.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just coming over the hood of my car, and I was like, I can't see anything. I don't know what to do right now. What?
And you're going straight towards the busy road.
The road.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't know when to brake. I don't know anything. And so I was like, muscle memory, please kick in right now. I've only been driving this road for like a few months at this point. But you know, I've been driven down this road my whole life.
I've been driven down this
So I should know. And so I was like, and we made it. We come shooting out the bottom. And it's like the road has been plowed. So it's like I entered into like another universe.
Yeah.
And then I came out the other side.
The slip stick where you like hit the plowed pavement and then
Yeah. And then it was like, and so we go shooting out, and I like turn real hard to get onto the road because it's like a perpendicular road. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
And we make it, and then we drove
By
to
the
school.
grace of the Lord.
We made it to
Holy
school.
cow.
It was insane.
That is insane.
So craziest winter driving that I've ever done. That's one of the occurrences. There are many more that I'm sure you'll hear about later someday on this podcast. But for today, that's my story, and you would tell me whether it's true or false, and we will go from there.
Mm-hmm.
On to you.
Okay, so let's see if I can recall where we're at. So, as far as cars, engines, whatever goes, if I remember, we've gotten
camshaft, right?
right. So, what we've gotten is we've gotten the crankshaft, the pistons, the heads, the everything, right? The block. So, if we're thinking about a V8 engine here, what we have is the heads, which are just these things that go on top of these like metal things that go on top of the block on either side. If we're thinking V8 here, which did I explain that already? Like the V thing, like it's called a V8 because you're doing this, because the pistons are pinched.
It's in a V shape.
Right. Yeah. So heads go on top here, and as they are going on the top, we have the things that like the valves. Right. We talked about the valves opening, letting gas in, letting exhaust out. So the thing that moves those valves are things called push rods, and you've got the camshaft, right? So we talked about the camshaft, I think, briefly last time, but you've got two different types of camshafts. You've got the in-engine camshafts. I'm not actually sure the official term, but what they are is they're right next to the crankshaft. So if the crankshaft is in the middle, right? I'm trying to think of the audio people here too. Crankshaft's in the middle, then off to the right and the left are two camshafts. Okay, they are smaller. They look very similar, but they have basically like egg-looking things that are attached to them. So it's like if you take an egg and put a spear through it, you've got a camshaft. And they're all different, they're pointed different directions. So as that spins, as the camshaft, because the camshaft is attached to the crankshaft via a timing chain, okay?
Yeah.
So as the crank is turning, the cams are also turning at the same rate. So camshafts are turning. When they turn, they push a push rod up. So think about cam spinning, push rod going straight up and down. Okay, as it turns, that little egg thing hits the bottom of the push rod, and what that push rod is pushing is a thing called a rocker arm, or really just a rocker, and like a seesaw. So what happens is it pushes, the push rod pushes one end of the rocker up, and then the nose of it goes down. And then as it comes back down, it kind of just does this motion, right? Over and over again. And like a teeter-totter or like a seesaw, it does that. And that tip of the rocker that it's pushing is the valve opening and closing. So the crankshaft is connected to the... crankshaft's connected to the camshaft.
Crankshaft's connected to the
camshaft. The camshaft's connected to the push rod. The push rod's connected to the rocker. Rocker's connected to the valve. And so since they're all connected, as it's spinning, as the crank is spinning the pistons, the cam is spinning and it's timing it out so that the valves are putting in the gas and taking the exhaust out at the correct times. It's a brilliant system. So that's how a lot of old, like Chevy 350s engines will go. A lot of old muscle cars will have that. But nowadays, in the more common era, you have something called the overhead camshafts. And the overhead cams, all they are is they sit in the heads, and they just sit on top of the valves directly, and they spin, and they just hit the valves directly. So there's no need for the push rod and the rocker and everything. All they do is they spin right there. So instead of the timing chain going down, timing chain goes up and around. And that just allows you basically so that when you're doing higher RPMs, you don't have as many moving parts, less things to break. It doesn't get as hot, like that kind of stuff. And it just allows you to not necessarily go faster. I suppose in some instances it could, but it allows you to be more efficient and to be, I don't know, it's just a better way to do it. And so a lot of your cars these days will have that overhead cam style. Yeah, and then so the next thing we'll move on to next, I know I talked about that last week, but that's like, there's that. So the next thing we'll move on to next week will be next week we're going to be talking about Christmas and stuff. So the next time we talk about cars, which may not be for a couple of weeks, we're going to be talking about the accessories, because what happens is like the crankshaft has a big pulley on the end of it that sits outside of the block, and then you have your belt. So like a lot of times you open your engine and you see this belt on the front of the engine, and that belt is hooked to all these different pulley systems that do all these different things. So yeah, so the next time we talk about cars, that's what we'll be talking about, I think.
All right.
But next week we're talking about Christmas. So Merry Chrysler. So we're excited about that. So
Yeah.
anyway, I think that will do it. We are so glad that you came along
Yeah.
with us for this.
Absolutely.
Sorry for the stuff. We had technical difficulties and things, and I'm glad that you stayed. I hope it wasn't too sporadic or chaotic for you. So,
Yeah.
audio people, video people, thank you both for coming.
Yeah.
If you listen to the audio, you should definitely watch the YouTube too, because that helps with the car explaining stuff. So,
for real.
and we
Watch
have
the
beautiful
last segment.
faces. So,
Well. Yeah. I do.
okay.
I'm kidding.
Okay. Anyway, we love you, and we're thankful for you.
We are thankful for you.
And
Please tune in next week.
Tune in
for
and tell everyone
another-
you know.
For
Tell
another
everyone.
keeping healthy ladle
Ladle of
of
peace.
peace. See ya.
Goodbye.